In this video, we're going to customize our legend. This legend is completely built in HTML, and you will see it as well if you open up here, and as well it will update. If I click on this, it will update as well and change it as well. So you can see here as well, this is a item where we create a lot of things, and this will be a long video, quite useful to understand all the mechanics deeply inside Chartjs as well. So let's look at how we can create our own custom dynamic HTML legends in Chartjs. In this video, we're going to focus on how to create a dynamic HTML legend in Chartjs, where basically the legend updates when we change the dataset in the chart. So this question came from one of my other videos about how to create a legend in Chartjs, but this video here, what you see, is an older version. This was based at that time the latest version, which was 2.9. Of course, now we already upgraded into version 3, so I guess it is time for an update. So, and of course, this question came from Adil. A special thank you to Adil for asking the question. This is what Adil asked. Hi, your videos are great. Do you know how to create a legend based on the data array and labels dynamically in case I have a button that rewrites the graph with different data sets? So yes, of course, let's start working on this. So to do this, we need to get first our default code. Make sure you go to chartjs3.com, and then here, just get this link here, getting started at the very end. We're going to get our default code here. If you see this here, for some reason, my Google Chrome gives this weird error, but on my other computer it works fine. Anyway, copy this chunk of code here, and if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this specific video that explains the JavaScript of it. So I'm going to paste this in here. Once I paste it in here, I'm going to cut out the title, paste that in there, and then here, save this. Once I save this and refresh, you can see I have now a wonderful bar chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in another bar or data set in here, and then just give it the colors. So let's scroll down here, and what I will do here, I'll just duplicate this. I'm going to put a comma here to say this, and then this I will say here the blue cells, and this will be the red cells. And then what I will do here, the red cells has the red color, so I'm just going to copy paste that color here, give this a value 1, and the blue cells is the second value here, so I'm going to paste those there and there. Alright, make sure this is as well a solid value, save this, refresh, there we are. So now we have everything ready. So let's go to the basics so you have the understanding of it. Because I have a picture here to make it a strong visual representation of it, because it is quite complicated what we're going to do. Basically, to create a legend, we're going to use JavaScript, and we're going to use a lot of create elements. But the first thing we need is the legend container, which is just a div, and we will just put in a div in here. So this is very important. We're going to add up the div here. This is our legend container. In this legend container, we will create through JavaScript the legend unordered list. And this unordered list basically consists of our legend item. And the legend item, this is basically our data set itself. Every line has a data set, or every bar is a data set here. So what it will have, this legend item, depending on how many bars we have or data sets we have, it will duplicate them. And of course consists again of two elements. The square color, which is here color box, which consists of the color background or the background color, but I noticed that I forgot to put in a line here for the border line. So if you have a border line as well, we want to put it in there if we have them. Of course, it's based on these here. If the border width would be 0, in that case, we will not have any border line. Makes sense? Then this one would not be shown. Next we have as well is the text, which we call the label text. And the label text is basically the dataset label, which is this one here. That's this one that we need to grab. And that is what we can call the text I, or basically should be called the label I, or array value. However, this is what we're going to do. This looks quite simplified, but let's still work on the code because the code is slightly more challenging. To do this, first step here is, well, let's look at this. This is the first step, create the legend container. So let's do that one first. We're going to put in here a div, and this div, we're going to say ID, and this ID will be called the legend, and I guess here, legend-container. And so once we have this one here, we have created this. From now on, we can continue on. So what we need to do is first, we're going to create a plugin here. And this plugin will basically be our legend container plugin. So let's call this plugin and then here brackets. And then let's give it a proper name. And the proper name would be, I guess, HTML legend plugin. Copy this. And then in here, we're going to work on constant. And this constant will be, of course, that. And let's make sure that this here is our plugin block. This equals curly braces, and then here we say ID. ID can be this, or you can change this. Sometimes you don't want to have this. Basically, the naming of ID is important because I'm going to use it later on in here. That what we have here is that we have the name. I tend to like to use the same because of this is to avoid mistakes. But if you would use different naming, the ID is essential in here. So let me show you what I'm talking about. In the skills here, we have the plugins. And then here in the plugins, we could pinpoint the ID name. So we need to grab here the ID, and then here we can put in anything regarding to the options here. And this will be important later on. So if you would say, well, I don't like the plugin name, it doesn't make any sense there, it should be like this, you can do it like this. So this must correlate with each other. To avoid making any mistakes, I would say just keep them all consistent. It's easy as well. Avoid any mistakes as well. But maybe you say it's too redundant because you have plugins here, and why would you say again plugins? I get it. Anyway, that's the extra information to remember. So once you have this comma here, and then what we're going to do now is basically work on when would we like to update this. So when we change the legend, very important here, we're going to use the after update. And the after update is basically a timing in the function. It says we're going to update this after everything else has been updated. And in here we're going to say we need the chart, we need the arguments, and we need the options. And the options is referring basically to this here, so we can pinpoint later on this. For now, I will not go any more further with this. We're going to wait for this because here's the thing. We're going to make a new item now. And if I save this right now, you can see here, nothing will happen. It will not damage anything of our code because we didn't do anything here. If I do here console log, you probably would see here HTML plugin or HTML plugin. Alright, if I do this, you will see here it will probably trigger, or does it? Console log. Apparently it doesn't trigger at all. We didn't yet do anything that makes it a trigger. Anyway, doesn't matter so much. What does matter is that we need to create now the next item. And what we're going to create now is the legend UL list or unordered list. And the reason why I'm saying this is this. If you look right now at a chart, and let's search for here, you can see here nothing is yet created. We have this chart box and we have here the legend container. This is all fine. However, we don't have yet the unordered list. So if the chart loads for the first time, there is no unordered list. So we need to make a check. And this check will say the following. Do we have an unordered list? Yes or no? If we do have, we need to destroy anything in there and then build the new values. If we don't have anything in there, or if we don't have any, we have to create one. So this is very important. So this is why this part here is the next one, is the UL legend UL list. This is what we're going to work on. And for that, we're going to create a separate constant. And this constant will later on be connected here to trigger something else. So what I'm going to do here is basically this. What I'm going to do here, let's say constant, and this constant we can say this is our get or create the legend list, which is the UL item. And here we say the following values. This is very important: the chart, comma, ID. And then here the expression or arrow expression. And why we're doing this here, or basically this here, this is a function. This is basically a function as well, or a callback. We're going to grab this one later on. We're going to put it in here. Then you will see that this will become triggered. So if I grab this later on, you will see this will trigger if we probably put it in here. Let's grab this, put it in there. And what is happening is basically this. This ID here will be later on with an item we're going to put in here. It will be connected. So we have to make that one right now, I guess, or else it will not work at all. So I'm going to say here just simple here. Container ID equals, or sorry, not equals, colon. And this container ID will be basically the legend container what we have here. We could just grab it from up here, doesn't matter, but you could make it dynamic in case it would be desirable. So in case you need it dynamic, this is the way we're going to do that. So this here connects now, because of the options, recognizes this, and later on you will see as well, and this here as well. But this is still all connected, but we're not even done yet with the connection. So what we're going to do next here is the following. So we have this here, and I guess what would make a lot of sense for now is just to give a console log only of this one here. See if we can read anything here. So to make sure that this is being read, what we need to do here is the following. We need to trigger here specifically the item as well. So we say a constant UL equals this item here, and this item will be connected with these values here. So we're going to send these values here as well. So we need to transfer, when we load this, it will load this, it will trigger this, and this will trigger to there. But this here is still blank. There's no meaning here. So this meaning will be created right now. So let's see. So what you need to do here is basically the following. I'm going to say a chart, which is the first one, and the ID now is from options, as you can see, options to this specific item here. So we say dot container ID. So this is very important. Once we have this, we should see here now any kind of response. So let's refresh here. Console log. Alright, it doesn't work yet. So let's see, what are we missing here? Oh, of course, we don't have any return value, and that's why it doesn't do anything as well. So let's start to do that one. I guess we can do that one now. And then you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So what we're going to do here is the constant. And in this constant, we're going to say here the following. We say constant legend, let's say legend container, equals document, document.get element by ID, and the ID will be this one here. And this here, of course, is this. So that's number one. And then, of course, what we need to do here is eventually a return. So what we're missing here is basically a return as well. So let's say do a return. And this return will be legend list. And then semicolon. So if I save this, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Alright, it does work here, but of course there's nothing yet. So what is happening right now is we're missing still an item. And this is very important, because if you look right now, we need to use here the legend. It doesn't create yet the unordered list. So I'm going to create this, but why I want to create it, I want to create it inside this legend container, which is this ID here, and this ID equals to this, and this equals to the legend container here, which is basically this one here, the div ID. Alright, so what we're going to do now is the create element, because we're going to create it in JavaScript directly. So we're going to create, and just to make sure, we're going to create this legend unordered list item. So let's create that one first. So in here, we're going to say the following. To create this, we must first check if we have one already. If we do have it, we do not want to recreate one. If not, we have two legends. So this is very important. So we say let legend list, alright, equals legend container, which is basically this. So we say here, and then we say dot query query selector. Then we're going to search for the UL item. So what we're really doing here is we say, alright, search in this div, which is basically the div here above, if we have any unordered list item. Since we have none, because we haven't created it yet, what we need to do is the following. I'm going to say here the following. Say if legend item list, or basically this legend item, if there's none, so exclamation mark means none. If there's none, in that case, what we're going to say here, legend list equals document dot create element. So we're going to create the element in here. So we say create a unordered list element. And then what I want to do here then is the next, where do we put this item? Well, we're going to append it, and append means to attach. So who or where will we nest it within? Basically in this container, legend container, which is the ID. In there, we're going to say here append. So basically this is the parent, and now we're going to append child. And append means to attach. So we're going to attach the child to which parent? Well, this div element is our parent, which is the legend container ID. And then what we want to add up here is basically the legend list, which makes sense here. So if that is the case, then we're done. We can save this now. And then, oh, I don't want to do that, but I want to refresh here. Alright, so we haven't triggered this yet. So what I need to check here is how do we trigger it, or why is it not yet triggered? So we have it attached here, but it doesn't trigger at all. So let's see here, we have this constant. Alright. And then what I want to do here is the following. Let's see how we can just trigger this for now. Let me just check. So after a quick check, I realized my mistake. And my mistake was a very tiny one. And this is the mistake here. Instead of plugin, or it should be plugins with an S, not plug-in. And this is the reason why it didn't trigger our plugin yet. So if I refresh here now you can see it starts to work and it does something here. Alright. So sorry about that. At least when we solve that one, we can now continue on. You could see here what is happening now. It duplicated twice. And the reason why it's duplicating it twice right now, we have two data sets here. And then if we click on it, it will do as well something. But we should have now as well here the UL. Alright, you can see it only creates one time a UL, but it loops to twice on the data sets itself. However, that doesn't matter. It will not impact our unordered list. It will not be duplicated twice as well. So now it works nicely. So this would mean that we can now continue on with our more advanced items. So we have this now, we have moved this in here. And what I want to do is make sure you understand this one, because this was the one that I wanted to show. And it was not clear maybe. So if I save this and let's look here, I think there are two consoles here if I'm not mistaken. 85 and 72. Alright, what is 85? The HTML plugin, that's that we type in ourselves. So if I save this now, you will see that this one is the ID, and the ID is basically this specific value here. So if I do here 1, 2, 3, if I save this, there you are, and it gives an error. And the reason why, of course, because we cannot find the selector. Makes sense, because we don't have one ID with the 1, 2, 3, but we have only this one here. But you can see here, it will nicely correlate with what we put in here. Alright, so this is now done. What I do want to do here eventually is put in some CSS style or style design. So I'm going to give it here a simple class. So I'm going to say a legend list, then class list, make sure we type this correctly, class list dot add, and then we're going to add a specific class here, and I will just call this class our chart legend. We will not put anything in CSS yet, but later on this will become very important. So if I refresh this now, you might notice here, if we go up here, we have now a unordered list with a class name. So we created this. Alright. So that would mean that now, if there's none, you will see this. If I do this, save this and refresh, here console log, oh it does work here, but later on probably if we update, might not, but anyway, doesn't matter so much. So we have this here. The next item is basically doing the following. What we want to do now is starting to work with the legend items. We want to create the legend items and grab all the data from it to start building this here. And this is of course a tricky one. So in here, what we're going to do here is the following. And here, let's say create legend item. And then in here, we're going to say a constant legend items with an S. Alright, so pay attention here. This is S because why there are multiple items, as you can see here. There's 1, 2, and how many data sets we have. So then we say the following. We have the legend item, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the generate label functionality in Chartjs. But to do that, we're going to say chart dot options dot plugins dot legend dot labels. There's a dot generate labels from what our chart data here. Grab this, put it in there. So once we do this, and we do a console log, let's show you what you will see. Eventually you will see just every data set and their matching information. You can see it become here twice because it loops twice, but it doesn't matter. It will not impact anything from us. But you can see here what we get is all the information: border radius, data set, fill color, font, hidden, yes or no. So if we will be like this, it should update here now, and will also show now it's being set and hidden true. So with this, we could make here this color a bit different, or we can make a strike through, or something else, whatever you want. But you can see here the colors, red cells, etc., etc. So everything is in here. So this is very, very important for us, because now we can start using a for each functionality where we just loop through each item here and then grab the specific object value in here, or array object. So that's what we're going to do right now. So in here, what we're going to do is the following. We're going to say here legend items dot, and then we say here for each. So we're going to loop through each item here, and then what we can say here, you can call this legend item, but for me, for the demo purposes here, I would say just call it item. And the reason why, it is basically a legend item. We only get one item here with the information that we want, but I just give it a different name, so it's easier to spot the difference. There might be confusion if you see legend items and legend item. So we say just item, but this is just basically this single data set here. We're referring to this here. And then we say here, want more, we want to get the index value and comma the array value. So in case that we need them. Then we say here a arrow function, expression function. And then in here, we're going to work on the following. And let's do a console log, and then you will see exactly what I'm talking about here. And then we say here item. Save this, refresh, and then hold on, I will just remove this one here. We don't need this, so just comment this out, save that, and refresh. You will see here now it loops again through them, but now instead of looping them as both arrays in one, it just loops individually with this and then with that. So that will mean, for example, if I want to grab here now the text, I can grab this. I'm going to show you exactly how. So say legend item, where we are now in the item, and then you can say your text. So dot text. If I save this, refresh, you can see here now red cells, blue cells, and then it will repeat itself. Let's remove this console log here in line 72, which is this one here. Don't need this anymore. Alright, so we only have these here. So twice. That is fine, and that works exactly what it should be, because now we can grab the items here. Alright. So what we're going to do here is the following. What we want to do now is create basically the new item. So we're going to say here, let's say add the legend item, or basically the item in our case. However, referring to legend item here specifically, this here. We're going to work now on this. We're going to work on this, but the term here we use item. Alright, so what we want to do then is the following. We'll say here, this can be a constant, and then we can just say li, because the list item is a document dot create element, and what I'm going to create here is a li. Once we create that, the next thing what I want to do here then is, of course, add up a class. So I want to say this, then class list, alright, dot add, and then what class do I want to add here is the legend item. Alright, so later on we'll do some CSS design on this. Not important for now. Most important right now is just to make sure we get our values. So what I'm going to do here now is basically the next element. So if I save this, let's check. Oh, of course it will not work yet because we need to append this as well. But we can do that right now. Let's append that one. So what I want to do here is, well, I can just say here the append items. Then we'll say here, what do I want to append? Well, we have the append. Let's see here on the list item, the li. We want to append this to our, let's see, where is that the list item? No, it should be the, not the container, the legend list. So we're going to say here, the legend list, I realized is basically this one is the UL. Alright, so that's this one here, because that's why we had this one here. This is basically the item, because it will create, this refers to this constant, which will create the legend container. So we say UL here. Now make sure you don't get mistaken by it. I noticed that I almost did. And then I say here dot append child, and what is our child? And the UL is our parent. What is the child? In this case, the child is the list item. So you say this one here. So if I save this now, go back here, refresh, we should see here now, there we are. However, we're getting 4 times, and that's alright. Don't worry about that. We'll work on it later on. So now we have this. What I want to do is, the next thing is basically work on the other item. So we have now here the color box. So we're going to say here, add color box. And the color box is the next one in here, which is basically this. And if you understand here, this is the list item, and you understand how we can get certain text, you probably also have to understand how we would be able to get the color. How we get the color, well, let me just show you, and then after we're going to use that one. Color here is basically, we have the fill style is this one, and have the stroke style. So what's the difference? Stroke style is basically what we call here, because you have to think about canvas as a paint, like a blank canvas. So this is a painting. So you use a paintbrush is a stroke. So a line with a paintbrush is what we call a brush stroke. So that's why they call it here a stroke. Basically a stroke color, that will be the line here, and then of course the fill is the entire color here. So let's go back here in this. The fill style is basically the color in here. So I'm going to grab this one here for now. This, refresh, we see here we got the colors. Alright, so what we're going to do here is basically the following. We're going to create a new element, so it's a constant. Let's call this what it would be suitable color box equal, and then we say here document dot create element, and this created element will be a span. And this span later on we have to give it CSS for the right color, size, etc., etc. So this is very important. So you have this one here. Then what we can say here, color box dot class list dot add, and then we say here we want to add a class name, and this class name will be called color box. Very consistent with each other, so it's easy to understand. So then what I will do here is the following. What we can do here is already give it a certain color that is related to JavaScript. So we need JavaScript for this. Here later on, we do some CSS as well, but we will be needing some JavaScript right now. So we say color box, and then we say dot style dot. Then we can say here border color, and this border color will equal to what exactly? Remember we had this, the item. This is the fill, and the other one was the stroke. What is that? The stroke. Let me double check. What was the stroke? Stroke style, if I'm not mistaken. It's the fill style, alright, and we have the stroke style, alright. So we say here, border color will be item.stroke style. And then of course our background color will be as well the other one. So this is here, background color. And this will be what exactly? Well, this will be our fill style. So if I save this now, we can append this as well. So let's append the other item as well in here. So basically here, this color box, remember this color box should be going inside our legend item. So this is very important. Oh, so this is very important. So what we're going to say here in the li, which is our legend item, we're going to say append the child, because that is now, this is the parent of the color box, and the parent here basically has 2 children, the color box, and of course later on the label text that we're going to work on later on. So we say here will be equal to color box. Save this, go back here, refresh. Alright, nothing happens here yet. If I click on this, do I see here anything? You can see already some information and colors, but it doesn't show anything. Why? Because we didn't do yet the CSS style. So let's start working on the CSS style for this. So what I'm going to do here quickly is here up. And then what we can do now is basically the following. I guess we can do also for a legend item. You can put it in the center here, so it's like similar to this. So what I'm going to do here, we have here, if I'm not mistaken, was a class. We added the class with chart legend. So let's do that one right now. So dot chart legend, which is a class display. Then we say a flex. So we want to put it straight ahead and then all next to each other. Then we say flex direction, which will be equal to row. And then when we say here margin, we just say margin 0 and padding 0. If I save this, refresh, alright, so it's now starting to do something. Not sure if it is, of course, what we want to do, because we still have a few other items that we need, because they're right now on top of each other. So the next one is basically the legend item. Let's see, did we have any class for the legend item? Yes, we have this class. You already created the class here, which is the list class dot add legend item. So this class can be now added here. Then we say dot legend item. In the legend item, we do exactly the or another item, which is the align item. So we're going to say this will be center. So we're going to push it to the center, and then we say flex direction equals row. So it's a row. Then we have to say, of course, display flex, because so then it's really in the center. And then we say here the following. We say margin left equals 10 pixels. So if I save this, go back here. Alright, I'm not sure if you're able to spot it. Go in here, in here, in here. So it is still in here. Just only one issue right now. It is not yet. It doesn't have any thickness yet, so we have to fix that one right now. So what I'm going to do here is the following. What we could do here as well, if you hover over it, eventually we need to have a mouse click. Well, we can do it later on. Basically, it's the cursor. I guess we can do that as well. Let's say cursor equals pointer. So the moment we are on top of it, it should show like that, but probably right now, it doesn't show anything because the height equals 0. So what we're going to do here is now the color box. The color box we created as well. Let's look at this. That's this one here. That's this span element here. So that's the color box. And then what we can do here, give it a width and a height. So we say here the first thing, display, and then we say inline block. Alright, and then we say here width. This will be 20 pixels. And then height, and then sorry, I say here windows, should be width. Height, 20 pixels as well. And what we could do here, I guess there's a margin. I put a margin right in here, so I expect that probably later on the items should have some space between each other, and we can make it nice, make a border radius. So border radius here, and we can just say 5 pixels. If I save this now, we should have colors here. Alright, we just have to duplicate it, and you can see if I hover over it, it becomes nicely with our pointer. So it does work well. We still have some work to do, of course. So let's start to continue on. So the next thing what we need to do here then, let's look at this. Here we have this one, of course. The next one is the label text. So we're going to work on the label text and then we're almost done. This is a quite long video. And we say here the following. We're going to say here add text label or label text, I guess. What was the term? We have here, this is the label text, so that should be label text. Label text. So in the label text, what we're going to do here is the following. Say a constant label text equals document dot create element, and this can be another span as well. It's just a text span, and of course this one here has the label text, and then we say here class. We're going to put a class list dot add, and what is the class? The class will be label text. Just very similar. So once we have this, what we want to do here as well is to create the text node. So remember here, I think if we did this, if I save that, refresh, go to console log, we get the color of the text here. So what I want to do here now is just to create the text node here. with this information that we need here. So what we're going to do here is the following. We say here, this can be a constant. Text or label, doesn't matter, whatever you want to call it. And then we say here, document dot create text node. So then it will only create a text node, and that equals this one. And then what I want to do is to make sure, of course, I want to append the text node into our oh sorry, I realized that this is here down. I don't want that. I want to put it up. I want to append this into our label text. So what we could do here is basically the following. Put here one, and then we're going to do it in this order because we want to have we want to first show the color box, and then we want to show the label text. So we say here, we do this, and then in here we say this one dot append child. What is now the child here? And this is the parent of the text. So now if I save this, and let's do semicolons here, save that, refresh, there we are, and then later on you can see here it's still not working because we still need to do this here, and you can see what is happening. We still have some work to do because what happened, it reloads itself, and later on I just have to solve this one. I just need to figure out what exactly goes on here, but this here is basically what we need to do. Alright, so we have this now. So what we're going to do is the following. Let's look at this. What we need to do here is probably this. What we have here is clickable effect, but if we click on this here, we need to create this effect, plus I want to make sure if you click on this, you can see this has a change here. So what I want to do here, I want to make it a slightly more lighter color, so grayed out. Well, now it's just nicely black, and then it will be a slight lighter gray. So what we're going to do here, in the text, I guess we can just do it in here, is the following. We're going to say here the style, so there will be this text label dot style dot color, and the color will be a if statement. And why? Because you can see here, let me just show you this, because this is a very important one as well. Let's go here in the item, save this, refresh. We grab all this information, but you can see here the information of hidden. If I click on this, the red one becomes hidden, and you will see that now the red sales hidden is false. Alright, I was expecting, oh sorry, that's this one here. Hidden equals true. As you can see here now, it is clearly that it recognizes this. So what I want to do is that if it's hidden true, in that case, I want to gray it out, and if it's just visible, I'll just grab the official font color that they have here. So to do this, we have here just basically dot hidden. That's the one we will be needing. So in here, if statement, if item hidden, I'm going to grab this. So if the color will become based on if item hidden, and if item hidden is, let me double check here, the item hidden equals, well, we can just grade it out. So if item hidden is true, in that case we do this, or else we say item dot font color. Let me double check if this is correct, because I didn't do any comparison. I just want to make sure here. I guess if it's true, yes or no. If it's true, this is like a true or not true. Let's see here. If I click on this, oh no, if I click on that one, you can see here now what is happening. It's being lightened, so it's grayed out. Alright, so this works. It's clearly that it works. So we have this one solved. So now we have this done. You can do here a class more. For now, I would just say I'll just leave that one. What I do want to do is fix the border width here, because we have a border width, doesn't show in here. And after we have to fix this, then you have to make the clickable effect as well. So what I'm going to do here for the border width, we need to go in the color box. And in the color box, we're going to work as well on another if statement. Then we say here, basically, if the item is the following. Save this, refresh. If we click here, and then we can say here border width, and the border width is based on line width. Line width equals 1 here. Very important to remember, because you can see here, this is the border width. Whenever I put this on 10, save this, refresh, this one is very thick, but you will see here now the blue line blue equals line width 10. Why line width and not border width? Well, in Canvas, the term border width doesn't exist, but there's a line width, because basically this is just a line that's being drawn. So that's what we're going to do here. So what we're going to do now is, let's look at this. Where are we? We are on this part here, and what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to say here item dot line width, and the line width should be always, if it's bigger than 0, in that case, what I want to do here, will be, if that is true, in that case I say color box, and I'm going to give a style, let me say here, border style equals solid. Without this, it will not work. And if that is not the case, in that case I'll say border box dot style, basically this, equals blank. This is a default value. So once we have this, then we can now start to work on the other item. And the other item is basically the stroke style. Alright, we have the stroke style here. Am I correct? This is the border color. That's the style, but we don't have yet the border width. Make sure you put the border width here above, or not only here above, I need to put it at the very top. And the reason why is we need to first draw the line before we can give it color. If you don't do that, it will give a color first, but if we cannot find the line, the color will be grayed out by default. This is a Canvas logic, so this is very important. So then what we're going to do here is the following. We're going to say here, let's see here, alright. We're going to say here color box dot style dot border width, this is CSS, then we say equal item dot line width, and then of course what we need to do is plus, because we want to concatenate pixels. Alright, so if I save this now, refresh, you can see here now this is now nicely correlated. Beautiful. So we've got this now, and then of course I don't want to make anymore this 10, I just make this things, or if we haven't even do 0 here, refresh, there you are, it becomes 0. So it recognizes it nicely. So, alright, so now we have this here. What we need to do is basically working on the clicks. So we need to make this clickable, and after we have to clean up this here. So let's work on the click functionality. So to do the click functionality, all we have to do now is, let's see, where can we do this? We have to do it in here. This is alright, in here we have to do it. After the constant of li, why? I want to make sure that this here becomes clickable. So this is the li, which means not only the border box, but both of them. Remember, the li is this element here, the legend item. So in the legend item, we're going to say the following. Say li dot onclick, meaning we're going to give it a function, and this function will be equal to, well, we're going to make now a function. We're going to say this is a function, and this function is a constant. Well, what we need to do here is basically two things. A pie chart works differently and has different structure, so we're going to grab that item as well. So we say here, first of all, we're going to check the chart type. Chart type equals, and then we say chart.config. And what we want to do here, we want to check if type equals strict pie, or type equals strict doughnut. If that's it's one or the other, in that case we have a different structure. So this is very important. In this case we say chart dot toggle data visibility, then here item dot index. So remember, we have all these items here, and I guess now here the index, if you want to look at it, where can you find it? You want to toggle the data in the set index. As you can see, we get the information here and data set index number 1. However, pie chart and doughnut chart have a different structure. That's why we need to do this. So once we did this one, we're done here. And this is only, of course, for the pie chart and doughnut chart. Else, if that's not the case, in that case, I want to change that. And what I really want to do then is, I will say chart dot set data set visibility. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to show the this is the index, or I guess this is the index itself. Sorry, I'm just showing here with the dataset index, but index would be 1 line 2 3 4 5 6. That makes sense. You probably know the index. If you don't know, watch my other videos regarding to this. But the dataset index is specifically these lines here, or these bars. It's all connected. But if you have index 1, 2, or 0, sorry, this is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's very important. Dataset is all the blue lines and all the red lines. So that's a slightly difference in structure. This is why data structures in pie chart and donut chart is differently done compared to other types of charts. So we say here item.dataset index, there's a comma, if not chart.is data set visibility, but visible. So if it's not visible, in that case we want to set it visible. So basically it's a toggle. Here we are basically toggling. If it's visible, set it on visible, else if it's not visible or not clear, or when we selected it, in that case undo it, and we say yeah, item dot data set index again. Very simple. And then of course we will say here chart dot update. So this, if I save this now and refresh, if I click on it, there we are. As you can see here, it works, but of course we still have a problem. We are getting consistently more and more items. However, what I can do now is, because our click functionality works, what I want to do here now in the plugins, I'll just say here legend, and then I say display equals false, comma here, save this, refresh, I select this, alright, it works, but of course we're not done yet. So then what I want to do here is the following here. So we have to see what's going on later on with our duplication, because it's not very desirable that we have the duplication, but that's alright. Let's work first with the most important one. What I want to do is just remove all the items here, or basically these here. And this is here, luckily done with a very, very simple line here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a console log. Let me say here UL first. Save that, refresh. We get all this. And you can see here, and probably if you keep on searching here, you'll find here children. You see here now we get all of this information here. These children here we need to work with, and there should be only 2. So it looks like somehow we probably are duplicating something. So I'm going to look at it later on. But what we want to do here is basically, and this is the easiest line we can do, you just say while. So we're going to loop through all of these children here. And what we're going to do is not even the children, we're going to say the first child. Let's see if we can find here. First child. There you are. So you see this one, and what we will do is we will loop through all of these and then delete them one by one. So that's basically what we're doing. So we say here while dot first child, in that case unordered list dot first child dot remove. Alright, and what it really does is basically this. Well, let's put it in here, let's make this a bit more nicer. And this is the reason why you want to do an update later on. When we update the chart, what happens is we will want to keep the old items to in memory, delete all of those, remove them, all of these first children. So basically we're going to loop through all of them. They will be all deleted. So let's grab all of this, or let's grab the children. And once we deleted all of these children, so we're going to loop through every child, and every time this first child is basically the first element in there, will be removed. And then after that we're going to put in this. So if I save this now, you will see here HTML collection. Alright, so we solved that as well. I guess that was the duplication. It removes it already here, and then now if you click on it, there we are. So now we're almost done. Why? Let's put in now an update. Oh, we have this update. Oh, that will explain it as well. So if I refresh here now, that was the reason probably when we had the duplication, is because I had this update here. That explains it. However, doesn't matter. Function. Let's create a function here, and this function will be update chart new data because we want to make it dynamic, and that was the last item here that we had to do. So what I want to do here is I'm going to say here update, and then we just say here my chart, and then we say config data. So if you're wondering what I'm going to do here, basically I'm going to update. I say config. So we say from my chart to config, and then we go into here up to data. And in here the data, we're going to put something else. What I'm going to do here is very, very simple, just to make it easy. I'm going to say here new constant, and this constant will be a new data set equal. It'll be nothing fancy, and all what I do is basically I'll just duplicate this entire structure, but I want to copy this again, put another item in here. We say here, I have no idea, I'm just going to make this 255, 255, and this put 0, 0, and then here this will be 0, 0, and then this will be 200, 150, 50, and this will be as well, and then this one will be 100, 0, 0, 100. Alright, and this will be process 1. You just give a different name, so you will see later on if this works. Number 2, sorry, this should be number 2. This is number 3, and what I want to do here, let's say 5, 1, and 0. So we have all of this. I'll just give this some different random values, just to make sure, so you can see that this is truly working. And then I'm going to grab this one here. I will say this data set will be updated, and what I want to do here, my chart config data, and then we say data, oh, this is the new data set, we can just say here new data set equals data set. Alright, so once we do this, basically what happens, we want to override it with the new data set here. What I want to do, of course, is then trigger this here to make a button, just to make sure it's triggered. So I say button, onclick, and the onclick functionality is called, let's search here, update chart. There we are. Save this, update legend, save this, refresh. If I click on this here, update legend, what is happening? Alright. This is not working. Did I save this? Refresh. Alright, let's see what is going on here. My chart, update chart with my config datasets equals datasets. Am I correct? Is my information correct? I realize that maybe it should not be datasets, sorry. Datasets equal data. Well, let's see here. Data equals this. Let's see. I don't think this is the correct way. Alright, no, it should be like this. So let's see what's going on here, or why are we not things. I'll just pause the video for a minute. Alright, so I just saw, I see I have 2 mistakes in here. First of all, make sure you don't do this. This is of course incorrect. Next, our data set is incorrect, what I created. Doesn't make any sense, of course. And the reason why it is mistaken, because I'm going to grab this entire item here. This is possible, but then I need to reference it somewhere else. So I don't want to do that, because I don't want to change the labels. The labels are still fine. All I want is basically the data set itself. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to remove this. Alright, semicolon here. Save this. Let's see if this now works. Save that. Refresh. Update. Alright, still not. Let me just check. Alright, so I finally figured out, I guess what I did was completely wrong. Sorry about this. I guess this video is far too long. I don't concentrate too much anymore. Alright, so what we need to do is this. Basically, we have here the entire data set here, and what I want to do then, because that was how I started off, we have this. Let's put in these labels back in here. Put in these labels, and basically what we say now, we reference, instead of reference to this one, we're going to reference to this one here, which consists of all of the information. Save this, refresh, update. There you are. You can see here now, although these colors are absolutely hideous, they're matching. We have the line here, which matches. We have also this thick border here. We click on this, there you are. Click on that, there you are. Click on that. Beautiful. So this is basically how you can do it. Let's put this all nicely here. And then here again, you can see here everything is being updated nicely. So this is the entire step-by-step of customizing everything and creating it. And even here, if you want to highlight it or make this a bit more transparent, when you click on it, and even when you have your mouse on it, you have the hover effect as well. So this was a long video. However, covers everything about customizing your own chart in Chartjs. So if you enjoy these kind of videos and you really like to do more customization, and maybe you want the tooltips to be even customized, I have another video as well that explains exactly how to do customized tooltips here. Just a quick warning as well, this video as well is quite intensive with a lot of code, very similar to Legend, but if you're up to the challenge, this is a very good one to continue on.